I'm just going to start from the beginning of my life and move to the present. Make it easy. I was born in January of 1985 to a mother and a father. They had a very tenuous marriage, but they were still married. I had an overbearing grandmother, and I had satanic people all around me, one way or the other. My grandmother was involved in LGBT things, which are satanic. My mom had been involved with witches, and my dad was a hedonist, and also involved with people who were in the occult. When I was about 2 or 3, there were a couple of things that had happened in my life. The first thing was that my parents were undergoing a divorce because they no longer wanted to be together. And there was a custody battle that ensued, and it lasted for roughly 3 to 4 years after that. I also was being molested by one of my family members who was very close to me, who was a female. And in this time, it was a very dark time. However, even at that time, the Lord was with me. I'm not sure how I got out of the situation the way I did, but the Lord kept me from being emotionally scarred for life, and He helped me get out of that situation, or through it rather. It was emotionally devastating, and I still feel the pain of it today, but I feel a mixture of things about it, because the Lord did bring me out of it, because if He hadn't, I wouldn't be here today. It's a very mysterious time to me, but somehow God brought me out of it. That's all I can say now. I don't really know how He did it. I just know that somehow I made it through, and it was because of God. I made it through with a lot of anger, a lot of anguish, and a lot of sorrow throughout many years, and I buried it deep within. And many years went by, and I had been repeatedly traumatized over and over and over again by deaths of people in my life and in my family. Friends also. Losing people in my life, instability from my parents' divorce, not being able to have my mother close to me as a mother. But God kept me somehow safe. Now, I say this as a believer in Christ, and I don't say it because I doubt God, because I know He did it, but I'm not sure exactly how He did it, but He did do it. That I can say. So I give Him the glory for it, because I could have gone down a different road and a different path. I wonder if somehow, kind of like how Job was in the middle of not so much a wager between God and Satan, but more so that Satan made a boast against God about Job, and God used Job to show Satan up and to bless Job in the end. It might be something more like that, but I don't really know. The fallout from the divorce and being molested was great, and its aftershocks still affect me to this day. I feel that throughout my life there were several things that kept happening over and over again. It could have led me to an evil path, but I never went fully that way. That's because God had His hand on me to keep me from going down that road. But He left me in there just enough to understand and bear testimony to people who want to get out of it and who don't want to be in it. When I was about 5, something that traumatized me was an aunt of mine died. It was very traumatic because I felt she was very close to me, and I started at that point, I believe, to develop what some might call, I don't know if it's a multiple personality thing, but I started to develop another mental space where it wasn't really me. It was like it flipped a switch in my head where I just didn't want to process it. There had been too much going on that I didn't want to process it anymore. So I kind of started developing what you might call, I guess, call multiple personalities. If not that, just another personality where all of who I really was buried deep within somewhere. And whatever people wanted me to be, it was like I learned how to become what they wanted me to be, to placate them so they would no longer abuse me or mistreat me. And for years and years, I was doing this, but at the same time there was an angry 5-year-old child still in there who wanted to get out. But that 5-year-old that was angry was me, you know. I was abused by other people, some physically and some emotionally. I never really fit in with people, and nor did I really want to fit in with people. But I had this push from my grandmother to fit in with people, especially these snobby people that I didn't like, that I just didn't get along with. She kept trying to get me with that, and I wasn't really about that, so I just kind of stayed to myself. Another family member that I had was involved with white supremacists, so I got an understanding of hate really early in life. Although that was counterbalanced, because it was interesting how God blessed me there, because this person who was affiliated with somebody who was close to me, who was an extended family member, was telling me, for example, that Jews were bad, but I had a Jewish 3rd grade teacher who was one of the nicest, sweetest ladies in the world. So that's a God thing right there. And ever since that time, it produced a counter effect within me, a rising feeling within me that I've always had a heart for the Jewish people and of Israel. They couldn't really turn me against Jewish people, and still to this day I can't be. And as a Christian, I have an even stronger love of the Jewish people as well, especially those who have come to Christ and those who will. You know, that was in 3rd grade. My grandmother wanted me to become a college erudite, scholarly type, or somebody involved in theater, a thespian, but the culture she was involved in is what is considered the LGBT culture, and throughout my life I became very sympathetic to the LGBT cause because of her influence, and also liberal policies and feminism and the like. So I grew up with that as a constant influence in my life, and from my father, you know, not to say I don't love him, but he is a very vulgar man, and I love him and pray for him, but he's pretty vulgar. And my mom was searching. She went from spiritual path to spiritual path to spiritual path, you know, so I got to know about other religions. And my mom had been involved with witches as well, many, so I got my first foray into witchcraft and the occult from my mom directly. This was all around the age of about 7 to 9, maybe 10 years old. This was all fomenting for me, so I was involved with paganism, the occult, and LGBT stuff, and vulgarity, and then got into East Asian stuff, occultism. So all this occultism and witchcraft and shamanism and just hedonism and stuff considering homosexuality and sexuality that is opposed to the Bible became a normal part of life for me. And in a way, I was being crafted by Satan to be the perfect spokesperson for his causes, to use the gifts of charisma and or gifts of speech that he had for me for his purposes. And my grandmother and other family members were driving me to this, go to college, do these things. And in high school, I was in middle school and high school,